When you think of the World Cup, you think of Brazil. They are the ultimate kings of international football. 5 World Cup trophies, iconic yellow shirts, and a global legend built across 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, and 2002. But if you look at South America's own continental tournament, the Copa America, the story gets really strange. Brazil only has 9 titles, lagging way behind regional rivals Argentina and Uruguay. So, how did the undisputed rulers of world football manage to struggle on their own home turf for nearly a century? Well, it wasn't because they weren't good enough. It was because Brazil was running the numbers and the math just didn't add up. To understand what happened, we have to go back 100 years. When the early South American championships began, it was played between several neighbors: Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Paraguay, and Brazil. Back then, football was primitive. There were no TV deals, no corporate sponsors, and no streaming services. The only way to make money was selling physical match tickets at the gate. To make matters worse, there was no tournament prize pool. If you won, you got a shiny trophy, some medals, and a pat on the back. Visiting clubs were promised a tiny cut of the host country's ticket sales, but more often than not, traveling meant losing money. For Brazil, this created 3 huge headaches. The travel nightmare: before modern commercial flights, getting from Rio or Sao Paulo to Buenos Aires meant weeks of exhausting trips by boat and train. Home cash cows: Brazil already had massive, highly profitable local tournaments at home, the state leagues. Matches were packed, and clubs made great money without leaving the country. The risk: sending your best players away, meant risking injuries and giving up local match revenue for a long, expensive road trip. So, Brazil did the cold financial math: long distance plus high risk plus zero reward equals not worth it. More often than not, Brazil sent B teams, backup squads, or just pulled out of the tournament entirely. In fact, the only times they bothered to win early on were the few years they hosted the tournament at home. You might wonder, if it was such a bad deal, why were Argentina and Uruguay so obsessed with playing? They had 2 massive advantages. First, they were neighbors. Argentina and Uruguay are right next to each other across the river. Travel was cheap, fast, and easy. Second, the government paid the bills. Argentina and Uruguay had centralized governments that loved using football to boost national pride. If a team needed to travel, state funds often picked up the tab. Brazil, on the other hand, was deeply divided into powerful local states. The wealthy club bosses in Sao Paulo and Rio didn't care about central government pride. Their attitude was simple: forget national prestige, we have ticket sales to make at home. By the 1970s, airplanes made travel easy, removing the distance problem. But a brand new issue popped up: the European exodus. After Brazil dominated the 1958, 1962, and 1970 World Cups, rich European clubs started buying up every Brazilian superstar they could find. Back then, European teams routinely refused to let South American players fly home for continental tournaments. While neighboring countries fought dirty with European bosses to get their players back, Brazil usually just gave up. Why ruin our players' lucrative European careers over a tournament that loses us money anyway? So once again, Brazil kept sending backup squads to the Copa America, and their trophy count stayed low. The real turning point came in the late 1980s and 1990s, when CONMEBOL finally woke up. They completely overhauled the Copa America. They standardized the format, brought in global TV broadcasters, signed massive sponsors, and offered millions of dollars in prize money. At the same time, FIFA created the official international match calendar, enforcing a strict rule: European clubs had no choice. They had to release foreign players for official tournaments. Suddenly, the whole picture changed. Huge cash prizes plus free player releases ensured full star lineup equals the Copa America became a goldmine. With the money right and the rules enforced, Brazil finally took the tournament seriously. And the result? Total domination. From 1997 to 2019, Brazil went on a rampage, winning 5 Copa America titles and reminding everyone who really ran the continent. So, Brazil's weak early record in the Copa America wasn't about bad football. It was about brutal logistics, cold business logic, and competing local priorities. The moment the tournament became profitable and fair, the Seleção stepped up and proved their dominance at home, just like they always had on the world stage. By the way, Brazil wasn't the only thing that changed. The critics changed their tune. too. Before the 1990s, the haters claimed, you only win at home with the referees in your pocket. You can't win on away soil. You're soft, what a disgrace. But after the 1990s, when Brazil started winning everywhere, the narrative flipped. You bring nothing to the Copa America. You just show up, take the trophy, and leave. What a disgrace.